Thanks, Barbara, and thanks for that lovely little plug about the 4 Diegos too. We always like to have a bit of a plug, but it's very nice to be here, and thank you for joining us, as Barbara said. It's a really good opportunity to listen to some of the experts when it comes to workforce management, because many of our customers and partners are looking for solutions. So looking forward to hearing Michael and Alex a little bit later on. We thought we'd take this opportunity to just give you a bit of an overview of Enghouse Systems and Enghouse Interactive. I should start by saying that Enghouse Systems is broken up into three distinct organisations: Enghouse Networks, Enghouse Transportation, and Enghouse Interactive. Now, the team here in Australia and New Zealand and in Asia predominantly fall under the Enghouse Interactive banner. The company was started in 1984. It's global now, 25 locations around the world. We're publicly listed in Toronto. That's where our headquarters is. We're on the stock exchange there, and from all accounts, the share price is actually doing extremely well. There's about 1,500 Enghouse people around the world, which we're very proud about as well, and we've got 10,000 global customers. No debt, which means that people like me know for sure that we're going to get paid, and many of our partners and customers know that the solution that we give you is backed by some serious security as well. Our net income last year was 47.2 million rather, and our overall revenue is 308 million. Okay, if we move on to the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, look, Enghouse grows its business two ways: via acquisition and via the organic growth of the companies that it acquires. And Enghouse Interactive here in Australia certainly grows its business via the organic growth of our systems. And our acquisitions can be grouped into four distinct areas: the console market, which is software-based reception consoles, and also for the more casual call center. We have ARC, which is on the Cisco platform, the ZCOM communication center. I've mentioned ZCOM, we'll go into that a little bit later on, is now obviously rebranded as Enghouse Interactive. That console is also part of our go-to-market. We also have mid-market contact center, which communication center is an important part of. I'll get into that a little bit more. The enterprise end of the market as well, up to 1,000 seats, and it's certainly a number of our acquisitions target that space. And of course, we have a true multi-tenant cloud solution via our CCSP, which is a service provider product, and we deliver them, as I said, on premises, hosted, or in the cloud, as you can see on this slide. So if there's a solution that you require, whether it's hosted on-prem for the mid-market or the enterprise, please have a chat to us or one of our partners. We most certainly have got a solution for you. Okay. The next slide shows you the acquisitions that I refer to, and I mentioned the word ZCOM because ZCOM was an acquisition that was done in 2012, and most of you on this call will know ZCOM. I can't believe that it's been 5 years since that acquisition happened, and that certainly meets our mid-market contact center play, specifically across a number of platforms, being Skype for Business, NEC, Cisco, and Avaya. And it is really a flagship product in this region for contact center. Other products that we have, ARC, which clearly fits in the console space. Scintellect, which is now known as CCE, is the enterprise-wide contact center. And we did an acquisition in 2011 known as Cosmocom. There you can see on that arrow, that's now CCSP. But ZCOM is a product that we certainly have had some serious organic growth with in this region, and that product is now known as Communication Center. So Communication Center is extremely important. We also have other peripherals, QMS, which is our call recording quality management suite. Okay, if we move to the next slide, we can actually talk about ZCOM, if you like, Enghouse Interactive in the APAC region. The flagship product is still very much Communication Center, and we've seen incredible growth around the world, and importantly in this region, over 250% of sales increased, basically, if you like, on Communication Center sales. Is now the #1 contact center product in our portfolio. Microsoft Skype for Business has certainly driven the enterprise growth. One thing that Enghouse did when they acquired ZCOM, or when we acquired ZCOM, was that it increased the business operation in New Zealand, put on more developers, and we're proud to say that all of our development is done in region in Auckland, in New Zealand. And it provides our customers and our partners choice and flexibility across the wider Enghouse interactive portfolio, as I said, with Communications Portal, which is a self-service application, QMS, which is Quality Management Suite, and many, many other products that we have in our portfolio. When you do get this this recording with this PowerPoint, please make sure you click on those links that say Zcom rebrand video in the media article, because there's some great information there for you. Okay. So it is. We're very proud of this as well. We've got 10,000 customers worldwide. There are over, well, I believe the number is now 450 plus deployments on Skype for Business. As I said earlier, there's 1,500 of us worldwide. Not many of you will know this. 8 out of 10 of the top worldwide banks are using an Enghouse interactive application. 10 out of 10 pharmaceutical companies worldwide use an Enghouse product. We're certainly very popular in the fast-moving consumer goods space with 8 out of 10. The finance sector, insurance, 6 out of 10 of the top companies worldwide use our product. And in terms of telco, especially with our CCSP product, which is our multi-tenanted cloud solution, 3 out of the top 5 worldwide telcos use our product as their cloud contact center of choice. So if you want to have a chat about Cloud Contact Center, please give us a call. Please give your Enghouse Interactive partner a call. Okay, next slide. So,
okay, thank you, Mike.
Without further ado, Mike, I'll hand over to you. Mike's the co-founder and director of Agyle Time, and he'll take you through their wonderful cloud-based workforce management product, Agyle Time.
Excellent, thank you, Michael. Appreciate the introduction. We'd first like to say that we appreciate the opportunity Enghouse has provided here in our partnership, and we're grateful to be co-hosting this webinar. I know we all have busy work schedules, and I'd like to thank everybody that's taken time out of their day to attend. During this webinar, we'll look at some of the macro drivers for our industry, workforce management's role, and some of the challenges which have inhibited in the past adoption of workforce management, particularly for the mid-market. And we'll look at new opportunities for adoption of workforce management, or WFM, which are being fueled in part by changing approaches to technology, namely UI, or in other words, the consumerization of enterprise software, and delivery models such as cloud and software as a service. A quick run through what we'll cover, some industry trends just to help set the scene. We'll look at why workforce management is important in this broader context. Next, we'll take you through some industry standard approaches to WFM, particularly the mid-market. Why would you consider implementing the system? We'll look at traditional WFM systems and challenges, and take a look through Agyle Time and how the barriers to adoption for workforce management are being removed. We'll discuss key business outcomes you can expect with adopting Agyle Time. Then I'll hand over to Alex Bullen, co-founder and CTO, to take you through our product vision of what you can expect from Agyle Time in the future. So let's kick this off. I'd like to provide some context in relation to workforce management and initially focus today's webinar on some industry trends. These will no doubt resonate with many of you, and we'll talk about how workforce management fits into the big picture. So service is a differentiator. It should really read, I guess, service as a competitive differentiator. You all know this is important, so we'll look at some of the research that validates this. Data Monitor and other stats here show how important customer service is. Globally, poor customer service is costing the economy a reputed $338 billion. That's a pretty staggering number. In today's world, I think it's fair to say there are many products and services that are quite similar on face value, but it's often the service that sets them apart. Car insurance is a good example. On face value, they will offer very similar protection. It's a set and forget piece of cover, and you pay an annual premium. You don't think about it too much until you need to contact your insurance company, and then it's a different scenario. I, for example, pay probably 20 or 30% more than I need to from the lowest priced insurance, because I know when I need them, I get much better service, and fortunately that isn't too often. So these days, businesses are spruiking customer service awards in PR and advertising. There's a direct correlation between good customer service, the type that engenders loyalty, and profitability, and Amazon is probably a good example here. Friends and family are also interesting to note in relation to recommendations, and there's much more transparency in the age of the internet, particularly with the viral nature of reviews on Facebook, Twitter, I won't name any companies here, but most of us would be aware of poor form in relation to customer service being outed online. And of course, this can be very damaging to a company's reputation. Not that long ago, focus used to be on products, efficiency, reducing AHT, cost effectiveness, and these are all still important, but the focus and philosophy is changing in our industry. If we look at customer contacts in a transactional way, just to complete a task, there's no emotional connection in that. You know, we can see a distinct contrast between old and new. Modern customer experience is more than just a simple interaction. It's a conversation, using a customer's name, asking questions, things that lead to valuable insights. The goal nowadays for many is to delight a customer so it's memorable, you know, not just to satisfy. We're aiming to make emotional connections, take notes in CRM, refer to them next time. You know, these days we're not rewarding just basic metrics such as lower AHT and increased volumes, but looking at loyalty and outcomes and aligning reward and REM structures. Customer surveys, NPS are figuring in incentive structures quite heavily these days. And in order to achieve better outcomes in customer experience, agents are being empowered. For example, you know, a customer calls in and says, I have an error on my bill, can you please fix it? She doesn't want to hear, oh no, look, I'll have to talk to accounting and get back to you. She wants it dealt with there and then. So there's a strong link between first call resolution and customer satisfaction, and good customer experience is often tied to more authority being given to agents. Some hotels, for example, give staff authority to apply concessions of up to $1,000 on a customer's bill for high-value customers. This is a top priority these days in reducing churn, particularly for those businesses with recurring revenues such as insurance, ATV, ISPs, and interestingly, SaaS and cloud providers. Customers are most profitable when they're always renewing their service and keep renewing, and acquiring new customers costs a lot more than it does to service existing ones. Not to mention the brand damage a high customer churn rate can cause. Brand loyalty is also very important in this regard, and it's one of the reasons why more companies are better empowering agents. Personalisation is interesting and is a very significant trend. Phones are a good example. In years gone by, you know, home phones, not many people have them these days. It didn't offer a lot of choice. You basically had one model available from the telco, and that was it. But now with mobiles, you know, the choice is pretty vast. You've got different hardware, operating systems, colours, a myriad of apps to help you personalise your preferences and needs. And a big enabler for products now is the fact that many are software-based. So it's a lot easier for customers to personalise their experience. And cloud is also accelerating this trend, both in consumer and in business. You know, think Dropbox, Evernote, Google Apps. And what's driving this trend? Demographics is playing a large part of the latest generation, really rejecting some of the truisms, I guess, of previous generations, wanting the latest offering, something more functional. Even McDonald's have introduced custom burgers, all-day breakfast, and so on. So how is this impacting the contact centre? Well, almost every teenager now has a smartphone, and communication is largely via text messaging apps or other types of messaging apps. I'm not sure what happened to picking up the phone, but I guess I'm showing my age here. So is the contact centre prepared to engage with these different channels? How do you measure SLAs? What about social media? Voice, of course, is still a predominant channel, but things are changing and changing pretty fast. So why is workforce management important in this context? Because getting this piece of the puzzle wrong has a significant impact on customer experience and ultimately profitability. Not having enough agents when you need them means average wait times blow out, frustrating customers. Not having agents with the right skills available to deal with customers means you're unlikely to meet service levels, achieve first call resolution goals and other KPIs. It's easy enough in one sense to solve these issues, just overstaff your contact centre, but the impacts of this are pretty obvious, you know, with budget blowouts and reduced profitability. Agent payroll is almost always the biggest cost line within operations, so workforce management process and discipline is important in balancing the goals in relation to customer experience whilst managing costs. Let's look at traditional WFM systems. So many businesses do recognise the need for workforce management or a workforce management system, and there's no doubt there are some good providers of workforce management systems out there. Good providers for the markets they target. Most are legacy systems built for very large enterprises, companies with a minimum of 250 or 300 agents, which doesn't usually suit mid-market companies, unfortunately, because systems were designed for much larger businesses. Deployments of legacy systems are premise-based. You'll need to buy licenses, hardware, professional services, have your in-house IT, involved in managing a big project to install the system. There's ongoing maintenance. It's expensive to upgrade. Legacy systems have lots of features and are quite complex in nature, which makes them difficult and sometimes intimidating to use, with lots of time and money having to be invested in training. Additional dedicated workforce planning staff and analysts are usually required to run these systems, which adds, again, significantly to operating costs. Many of these offerings are proprietary or closed systems which don't easily integrate with other business systems. And with traditional WFM, you'll need to buy enough hardware and licenses for your peak demand. So if your business is seasonal in nature, you need to ramp up, say, 30 or 40% for a few months each year, you'll need to buy enough infrastructure for that peak demand, even though most of the year the system sits there underutilised. So the bottom line is it can be very expensive and difficult operationally for a mid-sized contact centre to justify legacy workforce management systems, and many have just found it all too hard and don't bother implementing a system at all. So what do many mid-sized contact centres do? Well, because legacy systems have been prohibitive on a number of fronts, a significant proportion still use manual processes to manage their workforce. We engage with lots of mid-sized contact centres and some larger ones, I might add, and we've seen a common thread, or what we like to call the industry standard approach to workforce management, otherwise known as Excel, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. The manual process involves pulling in ACD and telephony data, gathering volumes, AHT, setting service level targets, running Erlang-C calculations, and it's possible to build a basic forecast using historical data and projecting it forwards. Schedules can be manually put together to try to accommodate the forecast. Often this approach requires an internal Excel guru, and we've seen in some cases the holder of the keys to the kingdom, which can be a significant business risk in and of itself. If that person leaves and does not document the process, you can be in all sorts of trouble. And Excel can be okay for some small operations, with simple requirements, doing just inbound voice, for example. I'm not here to knock Excel. It has its place and its limitations. Once you start looking to segment your customer base, maximise occupancy with multi-skilling, wanting to switch people intraday, monitor schedule adherence, spreadsheets soon become exposed. And add to this multi-channel, email, SMS, web chat, social, and the complexities quickly compound. Spreadsheets simply aren't designed for this, and in today's contact centre, the Excel-based approach to workforce management is fast becoming obsolete. So into Agile Time WFM, and I'll start first with how we came to be. So we're an Australian company. We're developed here and supported out of Australia. So one of our co-founders has another business which a few years ago was doing a very large number of installations for one of the big telcos here. And the business has a contact centre supporting the operation, about 70 odd agents. And it was becoming pretty clear that Excel just wasn't cutting it anymore when it came to managing the workforce. So a search was undertaken to see what was on offer in regards to WFM systems, but the usual legacy vendors kept on coming out with installed software, large IT, a huge professional services quote to integrate with internal systems, heavy training, etc., etc. And he was told he needed a specialised FTE to run the system. It all got too hard, and it wasn't really suitable for his mid-sized operations. So what was being looked for, in fact, was a cloud or a web-based workforce management system that was quick to deploy, minimal outlay, pay-as-you-go, could easily plug in existing business systems. There was telephony, help desk, ticketing, payroll, something simple and intuitive, which would cover the fundamentals of WFM really well, but without the complex and intimidating large enterprise functionality. So throughout this, I guess, attempted workforce management procurement process, the market opportunity was identified and a decision made to build a cloud workforce management platform for internal use to begin with a view to commercialise it as a mid-market service offering. To do this, in-house capabilities in software development, cloud, modern UI and web development were leveraged, and importantly, we received input from another co-founder who's a visionary in the contact centre operations space with a passion for workforce management. That input contributed quite heavily to the IP or intellectual property. We're talking system design, coming up with use cases and mapping out how the system should ideally function. Agile Time is spun up on AWS, and the first implementation was our co-founder's contact centre. We debugged the system, tweaked it with the first release made available to the market a couple of years back. So what we have now with Agile Time is a product that's quick and easy to implement with minimal upfront cost. We're talking a handful of days of actual effort and a few weeks to get up and running. Training is easy, the interface is intuitive, and you won't need a full-time resource to run it. Existing team leaders and contact centre managers can comfortably run Agile Time and save themselves a lot of time when compared to manual process or complex legacy systems. We're an API-driven business, so we promote an open ecosystem. That way you can plug together best-of-breed platforms which can seamlessly work together. This means existing systems and assets can be leveraged with Agile time, including, of course, Enghouse communication setup. So let's take a high-level look at some of the key areas of the product. We'll start with forecasting. So Enghouse is feeding data into our forecasting engine in real time, and we have algorithms to forecast out 12 months, but you can choose the period you want to look at. So for budgeting and recruiting cycles, you might want to look at 3 to 12 months, but for normal operations, a forecast of 2 weeks or up to a month seems to be the norm. Naturally, we can do forecasts for phone calls, but Agile time is agnostic in terms of the work stream, so we can do it for tickets, web chat, SMS, even walk-ins. You can view forecasts at a macro level right down to individual work streams, and you can analyse those forecasts for company-wide KPI achievement right down to individual teams and agents. Scheduling and rostering. So we take into account KPIs, grade of service goals to create efficient schedules. You can dynamically edit those schedules and see the results instantly in the optimizer. The system uses queuing theory algorithms, business rules to help you achieve those SLAs and improving customer experience and reducing staffing costs. Your team leaders and staff have the ability to view rosters anywhere at any time, so you can view them on mobile devices, tablets, computers, no matter what you're using. Real-time intraday, workload and occupancy can also be tracked in real time, so if volumes are abnormally high or low, changes can be made to ensure you meet targets and maintain an efficient roster. Workload and occupancy, I've covered that. The system lets you monitor agent schedules and adherence in real time. You can always have the scheduled number of agents available. You can view the workforce in real time from company level down to individual agents. We'll move on to reporting. Good customer service is best provided by happy and engaged employees. Agile time provides transparency so that agent performance can be measured on a level playing field and managed more fairly. Team leaders and contact center managers can get valuable insights with our reporting engine to support decisions with reliable data. Reports are available for a number of different areas, including punctuality. This helps you see when agents are starting late and finishing early. Work streams, basically the call types which agents are spending their time on. Tasks, what other tasks are agents spending their time on? So it could be productive or non-productive time, for example. Adherence, how closely are agents sticking to their schedule and what are they doing when they're out of adherence? Forecast accuracy, how closely do the forecasts match the actual volume? Service levels, handle times and wait times. Volume by work stream, which is again our terminology for a call type, email, web chat, whatever it may be. Worth also noting that reporting data can be easily exported to Excel. This might seem to go against the grain of what I've been saying about Excel, but it still does have its place. For example, if you wanted to manipulate the data further, you can do that easily by exporting. Now we'll move on to timesheets and time tracking. Not all of our customers use this functionality, but for those that would like to have a single portal, for example, for employees to log into and be able to submit leave requests and timesheets, and for those that want to minimise data entry and provide validation, timesheets and time tracking can be quite useful. So timesheets and leave requests are filled out by agents via Agile time, and team leaders or contact center managers can use the approval and workflow engine to either approve or deny submissions. The timesheets, the actual times the agent worked, and Agile time gets this information from Enghouse is compared to the timesheet submitted, providing validation for those that are doing the approving. Data can be exported and then imported to payroll or HR, or we can integrate directly with the customer's payroll system via API to minimise admin and data entry. As you would expect, Agile time is optimised for mobile, so agents, team leaders, managers can all access the system on mobile devices, tablets, not just PCs and laptops. So let's look at what business outcomes customers can expect with Agile time. More accuracy to better plan and budget, improved customer experience by having the right people available when required, better able to meet business SLAs and KPIs, lowering payroll costs. The system will provide you with the ability to manage in real time with up to the minute information, reduced admin and data entry costs, and better decision making with transparency in workforce data. And last but not least, a happier and more engaged workforce and less employee churn. That's it from me for now. I'll wrap up here. Thank you for listening and viewing, and I'll be available at the end of this webinar to answer any questions. But for now, I'll hand over to Alex Bullen, co-founder and CTO, to take us through Agile Time's product vision.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I'm just going to wrap up today's session by quickly touching on what we're doing with the product and where we're heading. So Michael, can you just move the slide forward? So as Michael touched on, the main principle underpinning Agile Time is to provide a solution for operational teams and operational leaders, and not to create something that can be only operated by workforce specialists. So our roadmap's very much grounded around keeping the interface simple and intuitive, and trying to build the smarts in under the covers rather than expecting people to configure a system. So our investment in technology has really been focused on emerging technologies and research from different industries and sectors, and how we can use those things together to support that principle. So if you look at our themes for our roadmap looking forward, they sort of reflect those core principles. You know, we don't believe that you should need complex modeling skills in-house to create forecasting models. So we're using and continuously enhancing and building on cognitive intelligence platform APIs to determine the most accurate forecast, and from that forecast create the most efficient schedule, taking into account sort of both hard constraints and soft constraints and preferences for people that are part of that workforce. But as good as you can get a forecast, you know, the forecast and the resultant schedule can only ever be a point in time view of the future. Providing guidance on what to do when the real world is different from expectations is ultimately the critical factor that impacts service levels. So we're using predictive analytics and self-learning from past actions to determine what are the most likely best actions to take when those unexpected business events occur. And then using that to provide recommendations and insights to operational leaders so that they can respond in real time. So we've looked at very much at a lot of what the big tech companies have been doing, and leveraging recommendations and artificial intelligence and self-learning to provide recommendations to people rather than to expect people to know what to do when those events occur. And one of the areas that often gets overlooked and certainly undervalued, I think, is the agents, who ultimately are the most critical part of the equation, giving them the right input and collaboration to determine the most effective and efficient ways for them to interact as part of a workforce. So our design principles are focusing on these changing needs of dynamic work practices and how we collaborate within the whole workforce. So sort of changing that model from pushing instructions to people to collaboration and collaborating to work out the most effective use of that workforce to achieve the outcomes we're looking for as a business. And as Michael said, it's no longer just about average handle time, and how active people are, but about the outcomes that we're going to get as a result of having the right people in the right place. So that kind of summarizes our main focus areas, and hopefully gives you some insight into what we're thinking and how we're leveraging the latest technologies and design approaches to evolve our solutions to meet the constantly changing sort of needs of workforce management. But I'd probably sort of set the context of all that and finish it off by saying that we don't actually know what the future looks like, and we know that we don't know what the future looks like. So our roadmap evolves through collaboration with our customers. So we're bringing the right technologies, but being influenced by our customers to make sure that we're solving the right, most important business problems. And then the overarching validation is, can we keep it simple? Can we keep it intuitive? And do that. So I'm just going to wrap up there, and we're going to hand back to Michael, I think, for any questions.
Hi everybody, thank you very much, Alex and Michael. So we've had some questions come in during the session, and the first one will be for you, I think, Michael Tonov. out of all the benefits that we've heard about, is there one significant gain that you always see for organisations that implement workforce management?
Thanks, Barbara. That's a good question. If I had to pick one, I think it would be really the ability to do more with less. So in other words, deliver better customer experience and meet your SLAs without blowing out budgets and doing it at less cost. I think that's probably the key one, Barbara.
Okay, thank you very much. If anybody has any more questions, by the way, just type them into the chat pane in the GoToWebinar interface. The next one that's come in is, what do you find is really the biggest reason that organisations just don't get around to implementing a workforce management solution? I think, Michael, that'll be you again.
Yeah, it's really the anecdote I gave in terms of how our business was founded. I mean, trying to do it for the mid-market has been difficult, and it's primarily because of the cost and complexity of traditional systems. And obviously that's changing now with UI and the consumerization of software, so making things easier to consume and use and not have to have specialized people hanging off the system. And then again, the other part of that equation is cloud and software as a service. Makes it a lot more accessible.
Okay, thank you. Now, this other one that's come in, you talk about keeping it simple, but how do you do that when the reality for many business environments is that they are complex?
Yeah, I'll probably take that one, I think. So, another good question. So I think we've certainly seen that, you know, the complexity of every business operating environment typically results in complex configuration, complex modeling, and solutions that are designed to do everything. So I think what we've been doing is trying to avoid that need for sort of data scientists and configuration expert within organizations, and we've been looking very much to leverage the artificial intelligence and the latest technologies to keep all those smarts under the covers. So that focus on creating the most effective or the best view of forecasts based on self-learning.
Okay, thank you. And I think this this is our last one, so if anyone's got any more, please send them through. This one, I think, is for you as well, Alex. How often do you release software updates? And given you are offering cloud, does it mean updates are forced on our business?
Yeah, and that's another area that I'm very passionate about. I mean, I certainly understand that, you know, operational environments are often and constantly pressured by all sorts of change, business change, technology change, process change, and so I don't want to add to that change fatigue. So what we've done, and we do release frequently. We do monthly and quarterly releases, and we're constantly investing in how to make the solution better. And I'd hope that, you know, that's an important part of our value proposition. But I strongly believe that new features should be something that teams opt into when they're ready, and so that underpins the way that we do software delivery. So every new feature becomes available and can be opted into, and is kind of switched on and not forced on.